Hi guys, LokeXStratus here. Something a little bit different right now. I know you're used to me posting Yu-Gi-Oh decks and silly things, but I actually plan on posting my updated deck for the format later on today. But right now, I've been really getting into Magic the Gathering, and I figured I'd share my deck with you guys. I chose to go with blue-white control. It's a blast. It's fun to play, and I don't quite have everything for it yet, but I'm pretty close to having the complete deck. And right now, as it is, it runs wonderfully. It just wins games. So without further ado, let me get through this. I'll give brief explanations for each card. First up, we have Venser the Sojourner. He's the first of my many planeswalkers, and probably my favorite. He is blue-white. He costs 5, 1 white, and 1 blue. His +2 allows me to exile any permanent I control and blink it back in at the end of the turn. His -1 makes my creatures unblockable until the end of the turn, and his -8 allows me to create an emblem that every time I cast a spell, I exile a permanent that my opponent controls. If this ability resolves, it's pretty much game, set, and match. Next up, we have Elspeth Tyrell. She is just a beautiful, beautiful planeswalker. She creates soldier tokens. She gives you life, and she can vaporize the entire field. What's more to love? She's a little tricky to work around with until you get used to her, but once you get a feel for how you should use her, she's just a great drop whenever you can. Next up, I'm playing 2 Jace Beleren. He is the cheapest planeswalker in the game in terms of mana cost. He only costs 3. His +2 allows each player to draw a card, but you'll rarely use this. He is mostly just used for his -1. Target player draws a card. You'll just use him to accelerate your draw. His -10 allows you to exile the top 20 cards of your opponent's deck, but you really aren't going to need to use that as a win condition, because it's not even a win condition. Next up, the truck, the man, Gideon Juna. Now, Gideon here is probably the most versatile planeswalker ever printed, just because of his ability to protect other planeswalkers, to protect yourself, just to bust, and he just busts up the field if he gets rolling. He's probably one of the most disruptive cards Wizards of the Coast has ever printed, and I'm just glad he's white and in my deck, because he's the man. He's just the man. He's the man. Next up are my counter spells. I run 4 Mana Leak. As you can see, it counter target spell unless your opponent pays 3 additional mana. It only costs 2. Then 4 cancel, pay 3 counter target spell, and 4 stoic rebuttal. It's beautiful to have 12 counter spells in your deck. Next, I have 3 of these proxy just because I haven't received them in the mail yet, but I'm running 4 preordains. It's Scry 2. Draw 1, and what Scry means is that you look at the top however many it says you can cards of your deck, then place as many of them on the top or bottom in any order that you choose, and then draw however many cards it says. So I Scry 2, then draw 1. Beautiful card, great for cycling and drawing new cards. 2 Condemn. After Shards rotated out, white lost a lot of its spot removal, so Condemn is sort of the answer for that. It's good for getting rid of the big threats if they managed to hit the board and you didn't counter them, or maybe you tapped out and you couldn't. Again, more spot removal. 2 Drain Nowhere. We're getting rid of those things that may have slipped past you if you couldn't counter them. This next card is probably what makes this deck so very difficult to deal with, is because it mainboards 3 Day of Judgment, which you pay 4 mana and destroy all creature spells on the field. It's just great because as a control deck, you never really want your opponent to get any foothold. So if they manage to start edging some things on the field that you weren't able to counter, boom, Day of Judgment, they're back to square one. And since this deck runs very few creatures, you won't care anyway. Finally, a 1 of Volition Reigns. This card has literally won games for me, because I wanted to overlook it at first, was because usually things that steal your opponent's creatures are negligible. But then I read it again and it said take control of target permanent, which was really wonderful because that meant you could steal planeswalkers with it. Stealing walkers is just amazing. Next up I have to Sun Titan. He's just a beautiful hitter. He's what's replacing Baneslayer now. Baneslayer's price to buy is literally plummeting because this guy is just so much better in every way for blue-white control. He's vigilant, and whenever he comes into the field and whenever he attacks, you get to bring back one permanent from your graveyard with a mana cost of 3 or less. He's so useful for bringing back Jace, and our next card, 4 Wall of Omens. This is quite possibly, if there was ever a perfect card printed, this is probably it. It is a 0/4 blocker, cost for 2, and whenever it enters the field, you draw a card. So he replaces himself in your hand and defends you. He's just a beautiful, beautiful card. Next up, I have a very diverse land in my deck, so I figured I'd actually go through it too. I'm running 4 Celestial Colonnade. What he does, he comes to field tapped. He can tap for either white or blue mana, and you can pay 5 to turn him into a 4/4 Vigilant Flyer in a deck that controls very few creatures and really doesn't depend on them too much. He's just great for finishing off games or for defending you in a pinch if you need it. And of course, being able to tap for either of your colors at will is always great. I'm running 4 Glacial Fortress just because, you know, I run blue-white and it's good to be able to tap for whatever mana you need. I know you're getting tired of hearing this, but once again, 4 more dual lands. This one's Sojourner Refuge. It enters play tapped. You can tap it for either white or blue, and whenever it enters the battlefield, it gives you a little extra cushion of 1 life. It's a good card. I don't have the money for fetch lands right now, as you can see, so running as many of the multicolors as possible is good for the color fixing that I need. I also don't have money for Jace the Mind Sculptor right now, so don't tell me, oh, I'll go buy Jace the Mind Sculptor, you noob, because I just don't have the money for it. I run 1 of Tectonic Edge. I probably am going to get more of it to run just because of the rampantness of non-basic lands in this format, but you can tap it for 1 colorless mana, or you can tap it, pay 1, and destroy target non-basic land your opponent controls. Last up, I run 5 plains and 6 islands. Alright, so that's my deck. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment below. Rate, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys soon. I'm going to probably post another video tonight. Thanks, bye.